Well, Happy New Year, and welcome to 2026. If you're new to this channel, I just want to say, hey, my name's Reed. I'm also known as CarnivorousChef. I've been doing recipes for the carnivore diet for pretty much the past 6 years, and I just wanted to make this video to give you some of my favorite recipes from 2025. If you've been around the channel, you've probably seen these, but if not, I really hope you enjoy them. But before we get started, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Carnivore Companion. This is my company. We sell clean seasonings with no BS whatsoever. It's literally just salt and spices. We believe that there is no room for artificial dyes, anti-caking agents, starches, anything. You should be able to just pick up a bottle and read every single ingredient on it. If you haven't checked us out yet, go to CarnivoreCompanion.com. Use the code CarnivorousChef at checkout to save 15% off your order. And be sure to sign up for the email list because we have a lot going on this year and we're excited to bring new things to you. But I don't want to keep you any longer from the video. Here's number 5, which is one of the most recent, which is the pecan pie. It's not very often that I come across things that I'm particularly interested in making, especially whenever it's something that I didn't come up with. But I've known about this recipe for quite a while. It is Maria Emmerich's chocolate pudding or chocolate mousse, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not doing the exact same chocolate recipe. I want to feel like it's Thanksgiving, and I want a dessert that feels like Thanksgiving. And one of the best ways to represent Thanksgiving dessert, I think, is pecan pie. While this won't be an exact representation of pecan pie, I think it's going to be pretty damn close. I think it'll be pretty good just from using her recipe as a base, as well as adding my own tweaks to it to make it something nice and rich without all the sugar and using majority animal products to make it happen. So with that said, let's get started by making the crust, and it's going to start with some pecans. I'm going to use 12 total ounces of pecans. But these are halves, so I need to get them broken down a bit. Get them into a food processor, preferably. You could try to put these in a blender to chop them up if you would like, but from what I know about blenders, it might just turn it to pecan butter, and that's not what I'm looking for. And to add some sweetness, I'll be using some brown sugar allulose for everything in this recipe. But feel free to use any type of alternative sweetener that you like, or if you don't like any, don't use any. I think that you could probably still get a good result with making this a savory type dessert, not necessarily, so sweet, but I will be using this. And I'm going to add a 1/4 cup straight into the blender, along with about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And just start pulsing. You do not want to blend this because, like I said, it will turn into pecan butter. And I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for chopped pecans with little pieces. So just... And once you're left with a consistency that's about like this, we can go ahead and put that to the side. Keep this out. You don't have to watch this yet because we will also need to make the pudding portion of this. And to start with that, we need to add in 10 hard-boiled eggs. And if you don't know how to hard-boil an egg, I'm going to leave a link right here for my 4 egg hacks, which shows you how to cook eggs perfectly. Because I did see some comments on Maria's website talking about how it tasted sulfury and eggy. And I can tell you right now, the mistake that person made was they overcooked their eggs. After 10 eggs, I'm going to go ahead and add in a 1/2 cup of my brown sugar allulose. And in place of the full-fat coconut milk, I'll be using heavy whipping cream, which I will need 3/4 of a cup. Some Spice It ground cinnamon. I'm going to go ahead and do 1.5 teaspoons of that. A little pinch of salt, about 1/8 teaspoon. I'm going to finish that off with about 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. We'll start pulsing it, and then we'll just get it smooth. And after about a minute, it's starting to look pretty moussey and puddingy. All right, I'm surprised. I just wasn't expecting it to be that good. The texture is actually quite nice, and I surprisingly don't taste egg. I'm going to put this in the fridge, and we can move on with finish up the crust. So I'm going to take 3 ounces of unsalted butter. That sounds like a lot of butter, but it's also a lot of crust I'm about to make. And to that, we can go ahead and add all of our pecan, sugar, salt mixture. We're just going to get this nice and toasted. Just move it around, keep it moving until all the butter's melted. It's really all we're waiting for. All right. Turn my heat off. It's starting to get a little too toasty for all this, but the butter's not quite melted. Let it keep moving in the still warm pan. It should be looking kind of crumbly. Pick it up. Should kind of fall apart. And once it does look like that, we can go ahead and start assembling, which I'm going to be using a cake pan made out of foil. If you want to use a different casserole dish or just any type of dish, that's fine with me. This one is a 12x8. So if you want to do a similar size, that's what this is. To start, I'm going to get roughly half of my pecan mixture into the pan. I want to spread that out pretty evenly. So once I get my bottom layer nice and even, we're going to throw this into the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes. And that is ready. And we can go ahead and get the pudding on top of this. Just get it all out. Doesn't have to be perfect when you get it out. Get it on there. And start smoothing it out to make an even layer. And once it is smoothed out, we can start sprinkling over the rest of our pecan crust on top of it. And there we go. This is what it's looking like. And I do want to get this back in the fridge. I'm going to let it sit in there covered for about an hour just because I want all these things to kind of come together. I want them to stiffen up even more. So I want to be able to scoop out a piece and make it look nice on my plate. So we'll be back in about 1 hour. And it's time to scoop out a piece. And I'm excited because I've tasted both of the components, but I haven't tasted them together. So let's just get a little bit out, see what we're working with. Oh yeah, that came out real good. And this is what it should be looking like. It's creamy, should be a little bit crunchy from the nuts. You know, let's go ahead and just give it a taste and see how we did. It's got a good cinnamon flavor. It's not overly sweet. The butter and the pecan crust works really nicely with everything else. And the pudding or mousse or whatever you want to call it is nice and fluffy. And it just, the textural differences are really good. The flavor is really good. And I really do not think that anyone would bat an eye unless you just told them it's eggs. I think they would eat this and be like, this is a pretty good dessert. And it's actually really light considering how much like heavy cream is in it. But you know, this is kind of to bind all the eggs together. And it works. It works really well. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Try it out. Let me know what you think. And check out Maria's channel down below. Thank you for the inspiration. And I will see you in the next one. Coming in at number 4 are the pizza puffs. I saw these on TV and I just had to make them. So I really hope you enjoy them too. So I don't really watch a whole lot of normal TV because I'm watching YouTube for the most part. Normal TV, I mean like channels that include commercials that you can't really avoid. But recently I watched some normal TV and I kept getting this commercial over and over again.
The critics are raving. Little Caesar's Crazy Puffs are the summer blockbuster.
And after seeing it like 20 times, I had the craving for it. And since I can't have that in particular, I'm just going to make it myself and it will be carnivore. So I've got 5 ingredients here to make this. It's going to be super fast and it should be quite simple. The first thing we need to do is get a mixing bowl and add in 1.5 ounces of ground pork rinds. Follow that up with 2 eggs. And then just kind of fork it around. It'll look kind of like this, a little bit runnier than I want it to. But what I'm going to do is let it sit for roughly 5 minutes until it kind of hydrates through the pork rind. So 5 minutes. And it looks like this now. It's not such a soupy runny mess, which is what I was looking for. Next up, let's grab a muffin tin, and what we're gonna do is take this batter and start adding a little bit in there, and then run your hand under some cold water just to get it a little moistened so the batter doesn't stick to it. And all we're gonna do is push this down and work its way up the sides a little bit. So I still want it to be muffin-like, and I want the crust to almost be like a deep dish pizza. Just make sure there aren't any holes in the bottom of it. So let's go ahead, get the rest of our muffin holes filled. Next up, what we're gonna do is take pepperoni and mozzarella and layer them kind of like a lasagna, because that's what it looked like they did from the pictures I saw in the commercial and online. We'll lay a few pepperonis down, and then I will top each one with a little low moisture, fresh shredded mozzarella. And then we will repeat that like 1 to 2 more times. I think that's enough for me. I did 2 layers total. I'm gonna finish this up with a little Italian seasoning just to get that pizza-y kind of flavor. You can use whatever you want for this. If you just want to use dried oregano, that'd work fine. We'll kind of brush off this little bit of excess cheese so it's not crazy stuck to everything. I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna throw this in there for 17 minutes or until they're nice and golden brown on top. So these are obviously insanely hot. I'm gonna let them cool down 5 minutes. They are ready to be tasted. As you can see, it did a really good job coming out of that pan. They look awesome. And I do want to cut one in half to kind of get a cross section, see what they look like. And there it is right there. Very cheesy and pepperoni looking. Got that seasoning on top. Let's give them a taste. Now, I know a lot of people don't like pork rinds or the flavor of pork rinds that you get with stuff like this. But what's good about this is that the pepperoni is so strong in flavor. And if you top it with a little bit of Italian seasoning, it almost just completely gets rid of that pork rind flavor. So if that's going to stop you from eating these, I would honestly just suggest trying this out to see what you think. Honestly, this is a great way to have pizza. You know, if you don't want to eat pizza and feel like a big old dumpster fire, why don't you just make these instead? It's got a good chew to it. It's got a good flavor, obviously. And that's what we're looking for. At number 3 is my Super Bowl party platter. I just really like the way it looks, and it tastes great. And I think a lot of people get a lot of value out of it just because there are good recipes within a bunch of like smaller things. Hey, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the channel if you're new. In this video, I'm going to be making the ultimate Super Bowl carnivore platter. It's taken me 6 times to figure out how to say that correctly. I'm still not even sure if I've said it correctly. But in this video, I'm going to show you 4 different recipes for a platter that will make for some good eating during the Super Bowl. And I'm going to stop saying that because Pepsi owns the rights to that name. So from here on out, I'm just going to say the big game, or whatever they say everywhere else. So if you're a fan of the big game, make these items, bring it to your party. And if you're not a fan of the big game, make this and bring it anyways, because you can hang out with your friends and eat good food and watch funny commercials. That's the best part of it, in my opinion anyways. But with no more delays, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to start with is our jerky. This is a nearly 2.5 pound sirloin that I found at my local Cost Plus store. We're going to take the picanha off. I'm going to save that for me because that's a nice little steak. And the rest I'm going to slice thinly into beef jerky. Oh yeah, this is a massive steak. And if you have a meat slicer, you have somebody that slices meat, like if you have a butcher that does that, just get them to slice it for you as thin as possible. But if you want the nice little challenge of using a knife, feel free to do that as well. Just gonna take this bad boy, set it aside for now. All I'm gonna do is try to trim up some of this sinew without losing a bunch of meat. And you don't have to use a sirloin to do this. Honestly, I don't think sirloin's even the best cut to do this with. It was just the most convenient for me to pick up at the store. First thing I want to figure out is where my grain is going, so I want to cut against that. So if you can see right here, this grain is going down, so I want to cut across that. I'm going to take my knife, get it pretty much at a 45-degree angle, and then just start slicing thin. And it should be left with some nice thin little pieces that we will dehydrate. All right, for this next part, I'm gonna take all this sliced jerky, just kind of get it even out onto the cutting board. You can put this all in a bowl, honestly, and do this too. I've got all this laid out. I'm gonna take half of this and do just salt. And for the other half, I'm gonna use some jalapeno ranch. This is from my company, Carnivore Companion. Links down below as always. So first, I'm just gonna hit this side. And this side, I'm just gonna hit with some salt. This is just Redmond real salt. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this, kind of split it up, and just give it a little toss so it'll coat everywhere. Then we'll do the same for this side. And just to be safe, I'm gonna sprinkle just a touch more on both. I'm gonna let this sit here for about 5 minutes, just kind of let everything dissolve into the meat. And if you want to, you can also just throw this in the fridge for a couple hours and it'll do the same thing. But we also think that 5 minutes should be good enough because we'll be throwing it into a dehydrator, which is the next step. So I have this cheap dehydrator I bought about a year ago. This is 30 bucks. If you like jerky, this thing will save you a ton of money. It does exactly what every other manufacturer of beef jerky does. It blows hot air around meat. Let's go ahead and get it onto these racks. I'm gonna put the wrench down first and then we'll put the salt above it just so the flavors don't really cross too much. This is all ready to go. I'm gonna put my lid on. I'm gonna turn this all the way up to whatever it is. I think it's 160. I'm gonna come back in about 3 hours and we will check this out, see how it's doing. If it needs more time, we'll just give it more time. It's been roughly 4 hours and 20 minutes. And this is the state of our jerky. And that's a pretty thick piece, so it's not like crispy or anything, but got a nice little chew to it. I think that's looking pretty good. And as you can see, it was super easy to do this. And the beef jerky with just the salt got enough, like this is at least a bag and a half of the big brand jerkies you get, but there's only 2 ingredients, so that makes it infinitely better right there. All it took was a little patience, a few ingredients, and we have a bunch of jerky. But it's definitely gonna be a nice beginning to our platter. Which the next thing is deviled eggs. So I'm gonna keep these really simple, and I've shown you how to boil the eggs plenty of times before, but just in case you don't remember, here's a quick recap. I have about 1 knuckle deep of water in a saute pan. I'm gonna get that boiling, and as soon as it's boiling, I'm gonna add my eggs directly into the water, cover it with a lid, reduce the heat slightly, and set a 12-minute timer. 12 minutes are up, turn the heat off. I have here a little ice bath. I'm gonna transfer these eggs into it. Once they've cooled off, I'm gonna crack the eggs on all sides. Give it a very gentle roll, and then remove the shell. And we have some nicely boiled eggs. For the deviled eggs, take your boiled eggs and your Paris Hilton cheese knife and split these in half. I like to wipe the knife off in between cutting because it keeps the egg whites a little cleaner. And then take the egg yolk, put it into a bowl, and repeat. Like I said, I'm gonna keep this filling very simple. I'm gonna add a big pinch of salt, roughly 1/8 teaspoon worth, a very small pinch of pepper, quite literally a pinch, roughly 2 tablespoons of sour cream, and 3 to 4 dashes of hot sauce just for a little tang. And to mash this, I like to use a fork, especially when it's such a small amount of filling. I have a lot of different deviled egg recipes on my page, so if you don't want something so simple, you want something just a little more interesting, feel free to search my page. We've got taco deviled eggs, carbonara deviled eggs, loaded baked potato deviled eggs. I'm sure something else. Give it a little taste. It's not too dry, not too wet, so it should look nice in these egg halves. So all I'm gonna do is simply take 2 spoons and just start divvying this stuff up. I like to add a little extra color. You can use just smoked paprika for this if you'd like, or regular paprika, but I'm gonna use my seasoning smokestack from Carnivore Companion. I'll talk more on that later. And finally, I just took some bacon, fried it, got a little crispy. I'm gonna top each one with just a little tiny pile of bacon, because who doesn't like that? I'm sure somebody's gonna come and say they don't like that. And here's what they're looking like. You can go ahead and refrigerate these for a couple hours. You can make these ahead of time, like the day before if you'd like, especially if you're making this entire platter. Like this and the beef jerky are gonna be the things you wanna do ahead of time. But if this is the only thing you wanna make, go ahead and just make it the day of. This took me roughly 20 minutes. So let's continue on with chicken wings. So there are definitely many ways you can do this. You can fry them in some beef tallow. You can smoke them if you want to. You can throw them in the air fryer just to make it even easier. Or you can do what I'm gonna do is bake them. So I've got my oven set to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, just preheating, waiting for me. And what I bought was the whole wing. You can cut these up if you'd like to. I'm gonna keep these whole because I think it'd be a nicer presentation for a platter. And there are ways to get wings very crispy in the oven. What you can do is you can actually put these in the fridge for about 12 to 24 hours. It'll dry out the skin. Another method that I know of is to use baking powder. The baking powder will react with the skin of the chicken. And I'm not 100% sure of the chemical reaction right off, but if you do it, you'll see that as soon as you add the baking powder to the chicken, it'll start fizzing up. It'll start bubbling all over the skin. But for these, I don't really want to do any of that. So I'm going to go for a smoky flavor. This is simply a 50-50 mix of smokestack and steak dust. However, I will leave a very simple, like smoky seasoning recipe below. I don't want you to feel left out on what I'm doing, and I want you to have a similar taste to what I'm having. You don't have to use this. You can use any seasoning you want. You can honestly just use salt if you'd like to do that. All I'm gonna do is season these up pretty liberally and lay them flat side up. So I want the flats to be facing up. All right, these are nicely coated. I'm gonna let these sit here for maybe 10 minutes just to kind of let them, mingle with the chicken skin, maybe even try to penetrate it a little bit so it can get into the meat. But if you're feeling impatient or you just don't want to wait, you can go ahead and throw these in the oven if you want to. But I waited the 10 minutes. They look pretty much the same. I'm gonna check these in 30 minutes and show you what they look like, and we'll go from there. And while those are in the oven, we're gonna work on our last item, which is bacon wrapped sausage. This is a super simple idea, but I have very high hopes that this is gonna taste really good. So the first thing I wanna do is get my sausage cut up into bite-sized pieces. Call whatever bite size you want to. I'm gonna go with probably about that. This is like 7 inches, right? And all I'm gonna do is use that as reference for the rest of them. And as far as the bacon goes, I don't really want to have an entire strip of bacon on each one of these. So what I'm going to do is test one to kind of get a reference to figure out how to cut my bacon. So that's one wrap, and that's pretty good. I'm going to add toothpicks to the seam because it seems like they kind of want to unroll and they're not even cooking yet. So let's just go ahead and start doing that with another time lapse. All right, these are all nice and toothpicked up. I'm waiting on my wings to finish cooking because I only have one sheet pan for some reason. So I'm just gonna throw these in the fridge. All right, it's been 30 minutes and this is what they're looking like so far. The skin feels crispy. It doesn't last that long, it only feels that way right now because it came out of the oven. And if you don't wanna play any guessing games, feel free to use a thermometer to check the thickest part of the biggest wing you can find. I usually like to check the drum portion, and I will put it right against the bone to see where it is. It says that's 185. And honestly, these are probably done. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let these just cool off just for a few minutes. I'm gonna open one up and show you what it looks like on the inside. All right, I've split this one open. And as you can see, I don't see any red or any blood flowing through it. That's a good indicator that it is done. The bones are starting to darken. That means heat has penetrated the meat and gotten to it. So I'm going to set these aside and we will continue on with our bacon wrapped sausage. I've reduced the heat on the oven to 375. I'm not even going to clean this off. I'm not that worried if these flavors commingle together. Just get all your sausage under your pan, make it extremely uneven just so anybody watching the video has an OCD trigger. And we can go ahead and place these into the oven for 20 minutes. They could probably go just a touch longer if you want them to, but the bacon looks good to me. This is the way I kind of eat my bacon anyways. I'm gonna let these cool off for just a few minutes, and then we're gonna be making this Super Bowl platter. As far as the platters go, I really like wooden cutting boards. If you have like a silver platter that you like, or just anything that you have, honestly, put this on plates if you don't want to make a weird looking platter for a bunch of your friends. But if you're like me and you don't really care about what they think, I'm going to make it on this nice cutting board that I have. I always like to start with a centerpiece and kind of go around that. And the best thing for a centerpiece is usually like a sauce or like a wheel of cheese. This is simply sour cream with some salt and pepper in it. It's just a solid and easy dip for people who want, something to dip their food in. Let's go ahead and start with these wings. Since they are whole wings, there's going to be a left wing and a right wing. I'm going to kind of arrange mine according to that. I'm going to take deviled eggs and do little clusters on the corner. Then I'm going to take one each side of the bowl. I'm going to take my jerky, pile on each side of the bowl. Finally, I'm just going to start placing my bacon wrapped sausages all over the place. Just kind of scatter them. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is going to be your artistic representation of you. And there it is. I'm gonna give everything a taste, and maybe I will have convinced you to make this whole thing. Feels obvious. I need to start with the deviled egg because they look amazing. Savory, very tangy. The hot sauce added a lot to it. Almost added like a cheesy quality to it, but it's just a really good deviled egg, and it was really easy to make. Let's try one of these bacon wrapped sausage guys. Savory, juicy, adds a little chew to it from the bacon. Smoky. God, hang on. I gotta try it with this now. If you can't tell, I haven't eaten yet today, and it's 11 a.m. All right, chicken. It's actually still got a nice crisp to it. The wings are amazing. I got a lot of smoke flavor from that seasoning. It actually penetrated pretty deeply, and they're perfectly cooked. It really didn't take that long. No, it's okay. Sometimes I'll make chicken wings and they'll take way, way longer to cook, but those are probably also like thicker wings. These aren't like crazy big or anything. And for the final item, let's try some of our mystery beef jerky. This is either going to be the jalapeno ranch or the salt. It's got a nice chew to it. The flavor is really good. It's very beefy because it's sirloin, and the seasoning comes through just enough. It doesn't like attack you with salt immediately. And it's just something that can kind of break up all these textures. So if you only make like one or two of these items for your Super Bowl party, or if you want to make this entire thing plus some, awesome. Like, this was actually really easy. You can do most of this the day before. Make it look nice and send it out to your guests. And I don't think a single person would be mad about this, no matter what kind of diet they're doing, unless they're vegan, obviously. Not the vegans. The vegans won't like it. Coming in at number 2 are my 3 flatbread recipes. I don't know what happened, but for whatever reason, I forgot about a grilled cheese I made like 5 years ago. And all of a sudden, it just exploded with me. Like, I just wanted sandwiches after that. And this one was fantastic. I've made all of these flatbreads multiple times now, so I think you would enjoy them too. Oh, hey. I was thinking about Subway flatbreads recently. I don't know why. I haven't had Subway in many years at this point, but for some reason the flatbreads were really standing out to me. And I was like, I think I have a flatbread recipe. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you 3 different flatbread recipes. One for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Oh, look at that. It's breakfast time. Let's go ahead and get started. So it's probably been roughly 4 years since I put out that grilled cheese video. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out up here. But in that video, I showed you how to make like a flatbread, essentially. It's bread texture and it's flat. What else do you want from me? It was one of the easier recipes I had at the time for sure. And the idea behind the bread for that grilled cheese was really just make something that could be readily available or just really easy to make. The way we're gonna make this really easy to make is to start with 3 ounces of ground pork rinds. This will be enough for us to have 3 flatbreads. And this is the simplest way to do it. There are products out there that are, already pre-ground pork rinds. So yeah, we have our first ingredient for our 3-ingredient flatbread. So we have 1 ounce of pork rinds, 2 eggs, and a half teaspoon of baking powder. And honestly, I don't know if the baking powder is the most necessary part of this recipe, but it does act to create a little bit of airiness to the quote-unquote bread. So I just use it for that purpose. If you're uncomfortable using aluminum products, I understand. I'm not gonna judge you if you omit it. Now, just take a fork and show your dominance by whisking the absolute trash out of it. All right, it should be rather runny when done whisking, but while it sits, it will start to thicken up. So while it's still wet and like pliable and formable, I'm gonna get my baking sheet that's been lined with a silicone mat and go ahead and pour this right into the center. And I want to just start spreading this out into a rectangle. I see a little piece of eggshell. You can get out of here. Nobody wants you. After I'm done forming this is let it sit for about 5 minutes just to let everything kind of hydrate. So I've got my oven set to 375. I'm going to throw this in there for about 5 to 7 minutes or until it's just cooked through. This is steaming hot. I'll let this cool off, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to get the breakfast portion of this flatbread ready, which starts with bacon, obviously. So I really just want 3 pieces, so I'm gonna get that out. And again, convenience. I feel like flatbread should be a convenient food. I'm gonna cook my bacon in the air fryer because I don't want a big mess everywhere. Feel free to cook your bacon however you want to. Just make sure it's cooked all the way through and to your likeness. I'm putting this super thick cut bacon into my air fryer at 375 for roughly 10 minutes, or until it looked like this. And while that bacon was in the oven, I went ahead and got a couple of eggs fried up. And don't forget to season your eggs. I'm feeling a little smoky today, so I'm gonna hit this with a little bit of smokestack. This is from my company, Carnivore Companion. And we can go ahead and begin assembly. The breakfast one's pretty straightforward. I really just want a couple slices of cheddar, lay down my still hot eggs, and then finally add our bacon. Crown your king. Looking pretty damn good if you ask me. You can obviously go anywhere with this. This is just what I would put on a breakfast flatbread. And I won't keep you waiting any longer, so let's give this thing a taste. It never ceases to amaze me what pork rinds can do, and I forgot how bready the texture is. I mean, just look at that texture. No one's done. I'm gonna go eat this. No, see you at lunch. All right, another meal, another flatbread. If you don't remember the recipe, it's 1 ounce of ground pork rinds, 2 eggs, preferably no eggshells, a half a teaspoon of baking powder, and finally, a passionate forking. And if you don't know what kind of flatbread we're about to make, it's going to be an Italian flatbread. So keeping on theme with that, I will get my batter out onto my non-stick surface. I'm going to make it into a nice little rectangle, like usual. If you don't have it there already, set your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And for this special flatbread, we're going to sprinkle on some of this Italian seasoning right to the top of it. Don't really have to measure this, just give it a little sprinkle. And I also think that this deserves a little bit of cheddar cheese, just right over the top as well. And I want that to bake into it. It's giving me that Italian herbs and cheese vibe like I get from Subway. Go ahead and get this to your oven at 375 for about 5 to 7 minutes, or until it's looking a bit like this. Cheese is melty before we even begin to make our sandwich. I want this to cool off completely because I do want a cold sandwich, and this will work well if you want to make this one the night before for your cold sandwich, but that's up to you. I'll be back in about 10 minutes. And I want my presentation side to look nice. I'm just going to flip this over. I'm going to work on this side. So the first thing that I want is going to be some whipped cream cheese. You don't have to use this, obviously. Sandwiches are always going to be a choose-your-own-adventure game. And I do think I'm going to hit it with just a little extra Italian seasonings. I want that flavor to really come through all the herbs and stuff. The next thing I'm going to use is some Black Forest ham. And don't forget, this is going to be folded over. So I'm going to pick a half and just start folding ham onto it. Also want a little bit of salami on this. So I don't want to go too heavy on this. This is already going to be a pretty salty sandwich. Just a few pieces. And only a few pieces because I also want to add some pepperoni. And then I want to finish that up with some pickled banana peppers. This one's very optional. I just want something to cut through all the fattiness, and I think this will do a great job. Let's get this bad boy folded over as good as we can. And that's what we're left with. It actually kind of looks like a Subway sandwich, like something you'd get from the actual store. And it's kind of big too, and I think I want to cut it in half. Now that is a cross section that is what I wanted. Give our little Italian baby a taste. See how it is. The herbs really stand out the most to me, which is crazy. I think literally just adding a little bit of extra flavor to this made it much closer to bread. It almost neutralized the pork rind. Like I barely taste the pork rind flavor, and I know that's what dissuades people from eating this type of stuff. But damn, like just the little bit of herbs added to it really cut through that. And what I love about this is that I could definitely make this the day before. Like this is pretty cold. Make this, wrap it up, stick it in the fridge, take it with you for lunch. It's a solid meal. Damn, I'm gonna call that one a major win. And I'm really happy I made this. I think you should make this one too. Yeah. It is finally dinner time, and I'm making a cheeseburger flatbread. I don't know if you even saw this one coming. I know I did. You know why? Because I'm the one that's making the video, that's why. I do have a hamburger bun recipe, and it's a little more complicated than this, but I don't always feel like making a hamburger bun with the ground chicken and the pork rinds and the eggs and all it's just a lot of extra steps when I could just, combine the things I already have ready to go, which is an ounce of pork rinds, 2 eggs, and a half a teaspoon of baking powder. Because all I have to do is put those things in a bowl, fork them together, dump it out onto a lined baking sheet, rectangle it off, let it rest, top it with some dried chives, some coarse black pepper, and some flaky sea salt. Should look a bit like this. Gonna throw this in the oven at 375 for about 5 minutes or until all the batter is set. So all we gotta do now is let this cool off, and while we're letting it cool off, we can go ahead and make our burger patty. Do this however you want to. I'm just gonna do mine like this on the pan. You're doing a Blackstone. Season up wherever you want. I'm gonna go with some steak dust from my company, Carnivore Companion. Throw that down, let that cook. That's all you gotta do. And once it's to your desired temp, we're gonna throw some trash cheese on top. Let that melt, and then we can start to assemble our cheeseburger flatbread. I went ahead and threw a couple more pieces of trash cheese down on the technically bottom side. I want this to be presentation side up just because it looks nice. Get my little burgee on there. Fold it over. And we can give it a look. It's looking pretty solid if you ask me. This is obviously a simple concept, but I think the chives and black pepper and the salt are going to work well. I won't know until I give it a taste. So cheers. Yep, did the job. Did exactly what it needed to do. It needed to be cheesy. It needed to be burgery. The little onions and the black pepper come through nicely. The crispy salt that's flaking off of here adds a nice little texture to it. And the bread's bready. But yeah, couldn't ask for more. I really enjoy this. I'm going to go eat my dinner. And finally, number one that just hit the biggest, and honestly it was a kind of a revelation for me to how easy this could be, the cheeseburger casserole. So for this one, we'll be making a cheeseburger casserole. Got my pan nice and hot, nice and ready. Get that out of there. You don't need that anymore. I'm going to take 1 pound of ground beef. Going to just break it up into our pan so that we can start getting a nice really hard sear on it. Since this is going in a casserole, I'm not necessarily looking for it to brown. I'm looking for it to get flavor and color. I've got my pan set to medium-high heat, and I'm gonna let it sit here for a while, just until it gets some nice color on it. But you do want that initial contact to really, really be hot, because that's what's gonna give it that nice sear. Just let that do its thing for roughly 3 to 4 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and reduce my heat to medium. Just let it go. All right, it has been a few minutes. You'll probably notice that you have a lot of gray coming around the outside edge of your beef. But when you flip it over, you should have nice hard sear that looks something like that. Ow, my face. And once it does, you can go ahead and just kind of move it around a little bit. Preferably with something that's not going to rip the sear off. And this is not seasoned as well. I'm just going to go ahead and add roughly a teaspoon, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon to this. Just kind of get that mixed in. I'm not trying to cook this all the way through. I'm just trying to get that nice color. I am done with that. It will be cooked again, so we can go ahead and move on to making our custard. And for this, you simply need 2 eggs, about 1 cup of heavy cream, half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of granulated garlic, half a teaspoon of onion powder. See, whenever I have casseroles, I do like it when it has a crust, so I wanted to have a crust on this one. Especially since it was a cheeseburger, I wanted something to imitate the bun. My thought process is, if you've ever had a strata, that is like bread on the bottom, eggs and sausage, usually some cheese, and a custard that fills in the bread. It makes it like its own crust. So what I'm going to do is make this custard and use pork rinds as a light layer of crust. This is just what I had left. This is probably like about an ounce, maybe less than an ounce of pork rinds. Gonna kind of crush them up lightly, put them in the bottom of the pan. Next up, we will layer it with some cheese. This is just sharp cheddar. You can use any cheese you want. This is gonna be roughly an ounce of shredded sharp cheddar. Next up, I'm going to do an optional couple teaspoons of spicy brown mustard. Like I said, it's optional. You don't have to do this. I just want that flavor within my casserole. Now we can take our ground beef and just top it. Now let's take our custard and drizzle it all over the entire thing. Let's shred over a little more sharp cheddar, and then we'll just finish it off with some bacon crumbles. These are the pre-made bacon crumbles I can get in the store. Don't feel like you have to use these. You can use whatever you want. And that's what it should look like before we go in the oven. And it's going to go into the oven at 325 degrees for roughly 25 to 30 minutes, or until the custard is set completely. You should be able to pick it up, jiggle it a little bit, and nothing should be sloshing around. So this is done. I will say my house smells amazing right now. I think the combo of the bacon plus all the spices and the custard helped to do that. We'll let this cool off for just maybe 5 minutes or so, just so I don't, burn my entire face off while eating this. But while we wait, here's a nice little stock video of a squirrel for you. All right, I really hope you enjoyed that. Let's go ahead and give this a taste and see how it is. I'm curious to see how these pork rinds worked out for this. That's the bite right there. This is really good. The crust actually set up. It's not too eggy. It's not too pork rindy. It kind of balanced out everything with all the seasoning inside of the custard. This is pretty good. This is the first cheeseburger casserole I've ever made. I didn't look up any other recipes to get ideas. I just kind of went with what I thought would be good. If you like this recipe, or if you like the stock squirrel footage, go ahead and give this video a like. And I might as well show you the cute squirrel again. Well, hey, thank y'all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope 2026 is great for everyone. And I will see you in the next video.